what a week this has been
Yeah.
for the speaker. And as we write this morning, in Congress, you're judged on what you've done lately. Kind of like a reporter. You're judged on what you've written recently. No one cares about that big story you wrote back in 2015. Unfortunately for us, because we wrote a lot of great stories back in 2015.
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Friday, July 18th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your top Washington headlines of the day. Number one, we've got a leader look. How are Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries doing? Number two, Senate Republicans tee up an important vote to see, will Democrats really play hardball when it comes to government funding? And number three, House Republicans are looking to put, what? Check your notes. Oh, immigration back on the front burner, Jake. It is going to be interesting to see how that goes. All right, let's get to it. Why don't you catch us up? Overnight, there was some action in the House on some votes, key votes that were really important, and then we'll get to the top stories.
Yeah, the House passed finally after a lot of back and forth over unrelated issues. Donald Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. 216 to 213 was the vote. Brian Fitzpatrick, who also voted against the reconciliation bill, and Mike Turner voted no, along with all Democrats. No surprise there. But, Anna, I think let's just go right into it here. Let's talk about Mike Johnson for a second. Mike Johnson had a bunch of huge successes over the last couple of weeks, the OBBB, and some good fundraising numbers. But what a week this has been for the speaker. And as we write this morning, in Congress, you're judged on what you've done lately. Kind of like a reporter. You're judged on what you've written recently. No one cares about that big story you wrote back in 2015. Unfortunately for us, because we wrote a lot of great stories back in 2015.
It's a good year. It was a good vintage for us.
Yeah,
Jake.
that was the Aaron Schock year, actually, I think.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
A long time ago is right. Think about just this week, Anna. You had the procedural motion, the rule to allow crypto bills failed on the floor after Trump cut a ham-handed deal with the Freedom Caucus. The rule came back up. Johnson had to hold the floor open for hours. And now the Jeffrey Epstein issue. This dogged Mike Johnson all day yesterday. And this is what happened. I mean, let's just talk about this for a second.
Hold on a second. Because I do think, let's give him a little bit of Duke. I understand. We're always about in the moment and what's going to come forward. But I do think we need to, because we spent a lot of airtime here questioning the judgment of the false urgency to just get something done. This July 4th deadline that they kind of self-imposed, put on themselves. But listen, Johnson has had a pretty good first 6 months. If you think about it, he has dealt with some really difficult small margins, Republicans on all sides being opposed to the OBBB. I don't know how many BBBs I can say there, but, whether it's, you had the moderates, you had the SOLT, you had Freedom Caucus issues, you had the Senate that he had to deal with. And I do think we just need to take a pause. And obviously, it's been a tough week. I think it showcases the challenges that he has across the board with the conference and leading it. But that was really good. We also wondered him coming into this year, can he actually do the fundraising, right? Is he going to be able to raise the same amount of money that previous speakers have? This is going to be key, especially as they go into the midterms. 2 wins for, I would say, kind of like strong in the, hey, things are going pretty well. But I think you showcase, and let's talk about it, how quickly that can turn on a dime.
Yeah. And let's talk about this Jeffrey Epstein episode. Democrats on the House Rules Committee had been offering amendments, one amendment this week, in relating to the Jeffrey Epstein episode, that they basically calling on the Justice Department to release a bunch of documents about Jeffrey Epstein and his client list and all these things that Republicans said they were going to release forever. And now they're not releasing. And Republicans on rules got sick of it. They just got sick of it.
It's uncomfortable. They've been
yes.
on this for years now, talking about how they need to release the files, hoax, conspiracy, deep state. And now Democrats, I mean, they've struggled to find their mojo on these things, but like this is truly, they're kind of putting it up here. And if you are a Republican who's been on Fox News or talk radio or on podcasts for years saying it's time to release the files, it's an uncomfortable position for them to be in. Like, there's no easy way to square it. Trump going on X and saying it's time to move on isn't working.
No, because it's not only Trump who has been saying this, it's House Republicans who have been saying this.
Sure.
So they were sick of this because, listen, the Rules Committee is the last line of defense between members in the House floor, right? If it gets through rules, it's going to the floor. So Republicans are expected to block this. But if you're a member of Rules, how are you going to go home and say, I voted against this? That's tough. I voted against, I kept voting against releasing the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. So they came up with a non-binding resolution, which is non-binding. And I don't know why. I don't know why they think this is their savior, but this is not going away. Tom Massey has a discharge petition, which mandates the release of a whole host of documents that it's going to get 218. It's going to get 218. Like, we don't have to, unless something crazy happens, anything could happen, but it's going to get 218. So Johnson, this is a problem for him, and this is going to linger for a while, and we'll see. Maybe Donald Trump gets frustrated with him. I don't know. I don't know that he's getting frustrated with him now. Johnson never asked to be, we write this morning, a referee in a decades-old sex trafficking case, but that's the speaker. That's being speaker. Not that necessarily all the time, but these are the kinds of things that you got to deal with. And one member reached out to me yesterday saying they have the votes to depose Johnson after the August recess. We'll see. I don't think that's an imminent threat. People are frustrated with the man.
We will have to see how they handle it. Let's move on to Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader. I think a lot of people wondered exactly what his leadership style is going to be. Is he too cautious? Can he meet the moment? Is he going to be able to get aggressive? The first half this year was all reconciliation. Democrats didn't have a lot of ways to push back on it. Obviously, that was a majority-only vote. But now, I really think if you kind of dissect what Democrats are doing, and it's not just in the House, but I think you see it in the House, you see it in the Senate, they are going on attack here. I think they smell blood when it comes to Medicaid and the cuts as part of reconciliation. You see, the fact that Jeffries led, the one time he could actually make a real impact here was on the floor, leading the longest floor, kind of taking up time so that the vote wasn't in the middle of the night for reconciliation, but during the daylight. And now on Epstein, on a lot of these issues, he is really kind of allowing and also at the forefront of pushing back against Republicans here.
Yeah, and listen, he's got this big redistricting issue, which we've been covering, very, very consistently, I would say. And he's backing a California delegation or a Gavin Newsom push to redistrict in the state of California, a very high stakes political and legal battle that is to come. And listen, I'll say this, he has the Zoran Mondani situation in New York. Meaning the situation is he hasn't endorsed the Democratic mayoral nominee yet.
Like the situation.
That's the situation I'm referring to. And he's going to meet with him, I believe, this week. And we'll have to see if he endorses him. I assume he will at some point. He's not been comfortable with some of Mamdani's positions. And that's a tough situation for him because if he doesn't endorse him in due time, I think there's going to be some questions.
It's hard to endorse him when some of the Mondani supporters are looking to potentially primary Jeffries because he's not in the same camp on politics as they are. So going to be interesting to watch that for sure. All right, Jake, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning. The Senate is now slated to take a key vote next week that could tell us a lot about the likelihood of a government shutdown. Democrats have been threatening to play hardball, saying that if this rescissions package moved forward, they were going to have to not be able to support coming together when it comes to a September government funding bill. You had Russ vote on the Hill saying spending bills need to be less bipartisan, not more bipartisan, putting John Thune in a tougher place. But this is an interesting, kind of foreshadowing, I would say, in terms of are Democrats, like Republicans are Thune's kind of calling their Democrats bluff, don't you think?
I don't know if you're not watching this on YouTube, you didn't see that I rolled my eyes at that Russ Vogt thing. I mean, you're allowed to have opinions about certain things when it comes to Congress. Russ Vogt is a House guy. He worked in the House back in the day. Back when I first started covering Congress, he was in the House. And you can't even call it an opinion that appropriations bills should be more partisan, less bipartisan. You need 60 votes to get them through the Senate. Like, that's, unless you want to blow up the filibuster, which no one has, he didn't say we should blow up the filibuster for appropriations bills.
Right.
Like, it's stupidity. It's absolute stupidity. But what Andrew's saying this morning is that, the Milcon VA bill, which did pass by a big bipartisan margin, should then thus come to the floor and also get a bipartisan margin. If it doesn't get a bipartisan margin, that means Democrats are not going to be willing to play ball on appropriations. So, that is an early test. And again, we're 74 days from a shutdown. The House is in next week. Congress is in next week. The Senate might stay until like a week into August. I don't know. I don't think they will, but they're threatening to. But like the basic thing is we're almost at August recess. So this is around the corner. This is not an idle threat. This is around the corner, and this is going to get serious really quickly. And Andrew's right. It's going to be next week is an early test of that.
All right, let's go on to the number 3 story of the morning. House Republicans look to revive their immigration agenda. Obviously, a key issue that President Donald Trump has been moving forward with unilaterally using executive powers. But now House Republicans are considering reviving their signature hardline border and immigration bill from last Congress following the August recess. I mean, this is red meat for the right. Certainly a lot of unanimity in terms of passion around this for House Republicans. It's going to be interesting to see, whether or not this moves forward, how they work with the White House on this. Trump has kind of moved on his own. He hasn't waited for Congress in this instance, as well as many other instances. But Republicans are looking for what does the second half of this year look like for them, right? The reconciliation bill was their agenda, and now they're kind of turning back to what else could be on the agenda.
The bear argument here would be Trump has done it on his own. Border crossings are down. There's no reason to get into a fight that's going to split Republicans over immigration. That's going to be the bear argument. The bull argument is this is something we've said we're going to do, and we're going to, we should do it and all that stuff. Most likely not going to get through the Senate. I can't imagine, maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine the Senate's going to want to get into a prolonged discussion over immigration policy because, Trump is all over the place on this. If you want to get this guy into a discussion about dreamers and all this other stuff, it's going to be difficult to predict where he's going to land because he has been all over the map on some of these immigration issues. So, I think this is. I agree that they're going to try to do this, and there's going to be pressure to do this. It's a very smart item by Mika, but I would say it's going to be tricky.
All right, one quick thing: a big thank you to so many of our community members who came out last night for cocktails and conversation. You could just tell everybody was ready for the August recess and excited to raise a glass after what has been a long stretch of work. A big thank you to our friends at Duke Energy for partnering with us and making that possible. As always, we really appreciate you listening to the pod, watching the pod on YouTube. You can subscribe at Punchbowl News. As always, go deeper on all things Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news and sign up for our free morning newsletter. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.